Hey everybody, I'm Tammy and I'm new to YouTube. I'm here with a purpose, and my purpose is to share my perspective on YouTube and to ultimately help people live happier and healthier lives. Big part of that is to open the realm of possibility for myself to make more money and make more sense of this world. And I want to help you learn and open a door with my perspective uh, so that it can help you make sense in your world and ultimately enable you to make more money with the changes that you make from my perspective and introspect on topics that aren't so much, movie related, but however it comes, right? Today I wanted to discuss a book I was reading. It's called Is This Anything? By Jerry Seinfeld. And the cool part, I bought it because I love Jerry Seinfeld. He's a wonderful comedian. He's brought my soul through some journeys and some great laughs and thoughts. I'm a deep thinker. And, he's human just like us. We all have our ego hanging out here too. So there's two of us, right? Our self that feels ourself, or it doesn't feel, I don't know. And then there's our ego that we think we feel or we think we see. My topic relates to we see, but we don't see. And I was reading this story, right? And it's called The Parrot Mirror. And his story has to do, his whole book is just, half page, quarter page, double space. It's pretty easy reading and it's really fun. So the one I'm reading is from 1970s. And if you can see, Jerry had this. I think in his former life, he came back to this one to write it down, because introspect is, we need to deep think, consider our own ideas, thoughts, and feelings, which is the definition of introspect. Consider, and how can you do that if you can't remember them? And I think by him writing them down, it was a great benefit, because he had other people, right? Or not, I don't know how it works in where his world was of TV and comedy. Well, I learned a little bit from him, but where you can be uncensored, right? So this is just things that he wrote down that were thoughts. Like, you just think about something. How many times have you said, hey, what about this? Wouldn't that be funny if this and this and that? And how would this go? So this one has to do with his mother wanting to rearrange the living room all the time. And she had an idea about putting up an entire wall in the living room. And her idea was that it would make the living room seem bigger, so that it was a false illusion. You would see bigger, right? And Jerry's take on this was as follows. I'll do it briefly. What kind of a person goes up to a mirror and goes, hey, look, there's a whole other room in there. There's a guy in there that looks just like me. My parakeet would fall for this. I would let him out of the cage. He would fly around and he would go bang right into the mirror with his little head that was very smooth at the front, and the feathers would just fly. He'd hit the ground. Then he'd fly off in another direction, askew. But even if he thinks the mirror is another room, why doesn't he at least try to avoid hitting the other parakeet? Look up! What happened to the bird's eye view and all of that? There's another parakeet coming right at you! Exclamation point. And that brought me to, it fit right in with that you see, or we see, not you. We see, but we don't see, right? We see the bird saw that there was a whole nother room there, and it thought it was going to fly around this whole other room. And perspective, right? Is it about perspective on what the bird thought, or was it a bird's belief that he believed there was another room because of the mirror? And I had a class last night, and the professor brought up a topic about seeing what we don't see. And it had to do with soulfully right versus mindfully right. And this correlates because soulfully we believe, or mindfully we believe something should be a certain way, but soulfully we also recognize it as a certain way. So the example he had given was with the fruit tree in somebody's yard, and the fruit tree was hanging over, a branch was hanging over a fence onto the sidewalk. So walkers by could go and pull off a piece of fruit. And he had asked, is that against the law? So would that be mindfully right or soulfully right action that happened when you pulled the piece of fruit, or that person? And, the class, we had our reactions, and you would have yours now as well. And then he goes, well, now what if the branch was cut off and the fruit, you could reach it over the fence, but it was in somebody's yard? Would it be soulfully right to take the fruit, or do you justify it mindfully? Is it right or wrong? And lastly, he says, okay, you can't reach any fruit from the sidewalk. You have to literally open the fence and go into the yard. Is that soulfully right or mindfully right? Seeing what we don't see kind of makes me want to feel what would be the right thing to do. And I don't know if that goes to beliefs or the law. Who decides what our soul thinks and what our mind thinks? But this video was meant to bring perspective to all of us, probably the thousands and thousands of people watching this video, my second YouTube video, to think about if it's mindfully right because we were told we can't do this or we can't do that, and who made the law to do this and who made the law to do that we have to all follow. Did we do it by asking to do it, or is it a mutually agreed upon decision? Myself, if I had a fruit tree, I believe with my heart that the tree would produce more fruit the more fruit that was picked from it, and would benefit more people by taking more of the fruit from the tree. I know for the law, right, it could be if that person doesn't believe with their belief the same thing, or they want to keep the fruit all to themselves, or they want to be in charge of distributing all that fruit so that they can feel better, or however that works, or they just let it rot on the tree. Does the fruit rot because people walk by and think bad thoughts about that person that doesn't let us, benefit with the sustenance and the sun-kissed love that the tree was given? There's been plenty of studies about fruit and vegetables and food in general, and plants dying, and your dinner being ruined from bad attitudes. So I would think a tree that gives with love, receives with love, and a tree doesn't know how to forget. It just lives for today. And keeping the tree feeling good, feeling wanted, feeling needed, feeling contributory, expanding its growth by making more fruit because it's got less fruit and it can take that energy and make some more, is just an example of how we can see something one way, but there's multiple directions that something like that could go in. So I guess what I'm asking is for people to pay a little more attention to being so angry and possessive and holding a grudge over something silly, over a piece of fruit, when we have a whole planet that we need to care of all of the fruit, not just the fruit on that side of the fence. And we need to share the fruits, because we sure have to rake up the leaves of the branches that hang over our fence. And we don't give a crap about it. And if we do, you need to stop that, because we need to forgive a little bit more and give a little bit more. And as one of the layers of the onion of our soul that needs to be cleaned up. And without forgiveness, you can't forget. You can't live in today because you're stuck not enjoying that piece of fruit or that person's soul and their being and what they bring to the table for your dinner or for your potluck or your picnic. We don't want flies at the picnic, right? All good, happy souls. I don't know if this works. That would be great, though. Flies are reminders of something that needs to be done, right? So, yeah. See what you can't see or may not see or choose not to see. Because whatever you choose not to see, what do they say, shines brighter? So if you don't want to acknowledge it, it's not going to go away. It's going to get deeper and deeper and heavier. Someone loves you right here, right now. Breathe. Recognize today, this moment, whatever brought you to this video. And just know there's no me, there's we and us. And breathe in every time you have any doubt. Just breathe. Breathe in, breathe out. And hopefully your harvest will be taken by people that forgive and love and can create a bountiful harvest for you on your trees or your plants or your farms or your fields or your mail. I love you. Bye. Thank you.